the first evaluator was Lori, the second evaluator was Jane, I'm sorry, and the third evaluator was Kale.
Okay. Okay.
As you wrap up those comments, I'd like to call forward our next evaluation team led by Dave Hutchinson, please, and his evaluation team as well as the panel. So if you'll all please come forward. Thank you. And I will have Dave lead this. In addition, I will be evaluating our panel leader at a different time after the end of the meeting. So you'll be evaluating.
I meant to ask you about that. Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Dave.
Very well. We'll begin with reminding you that each of us was looking at the panel as a whole, but each of us was also focusing on one member of the panel. And we'll take our comments in the same order that the panelists did. So we'll kick off with Mike Casey.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and particularly Caroline Baker. What a great speech. Your purpose today was to be a member of the panel, but was also to inform as your general purpose. You're doing speech number 3 out of the Communication and Leadership Manual, and the purpose of this speech is get to the point. And the speaker is to prepare a speech that has a clear general purpose and a specific purpose. And again, your general purpose, I think, was to inform us, but the specific purpose was to talk about the benefits to the speaker personally of being a member of an advanced club. And I think you did that very well. Now, how did you go about doing that? Well, it's no mystery. Your speech was very well organized and set up. You had a good opening, although I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a hook in the opening, like Mary did with her red carpet. You know, that got everyone's attention. And that's a good way to draw your audience in. I feel that the body of your speech was very good. You had a number of very specific points, but you punctuated these with a personal story about how it was when you became a member of Saturday Morning Live, and we could all relate to that. It can be a trifle bit intimidating coming to this club for the first time, particularly if you haven't yet gotten your Competent Communicator Award. So that helps draw us in and helps us personalize what you're saying. So I thought that that was a very effective technique. You also had some great points, and the thing that I liked, the point that I liked best, I'm a student of leadership, and I liked the fact that you said that being more involved and being a better evaluator and listener makes you a better leader because it makes you a better follower. Many people miss that when it comes to the leadership equation. They think about leadership as what you do when you're in a leadership position, but leadership also includes how good a follower you are. So I like that point. It also makes you a student of evaluations and helps your listening skills. Those are all very key things. I also liked your conclusion. You had an excellent close, and you had a quote in your close that I am going to take with me. And the quote is this: "Our potential is limited by the excuses we make." How powerful mind. But overall, very effective, excellent speech. I would try to put a little more drama in your opening, maybe with a bit of a hook. And also, a couple of times I got the feel that you were very close to the lectern. You used notes, and they weren't obtrusive, but I felt you were a little bit tied to the lectern. But other than those very minor points, excellent speech, and I look forward to hearing more.
Thank you, Mike. My counterpart on this evaluation was Mary Torno. I was very interested to see the operation of a panel for over an hour on a subject that is important to me, but that I've never spent any time that I can remember a solid hour thinking hard about this subject. And you'd expect that some new lights might be turned on, and in fact, they were. I think Mary's part of the presentation was really important to that, because Mary taught us that this whole business doesn't work unless you stop and take a look at yourself and find those complacencies, those things where you've decided that such and such is good enough and that you don't have to make any more changes in that area. I heard in Caroline's presentation the part that being a good evaluator will make you a straight talker in your life. That struck home for me. I have a tendency to want to be nice to everybody all the time, and it gets me all knotted up sometimes. Mary did a wonderful job of turning this light on with her presentation, with her manner, with her selection of examples. One of the big messages you got from Mary was, look at yourself and find the area where the improvement needs to happen. That's the key to everything else. The evaluators help you do that. Mary asked me to pay special attention to visual aids. I was really not so pleased with the markers. Too bad about those markers. And I was sitting in just the place where I thought I might be able to read it if I tried real hard, and that gets distracting. The red carpet, I like that for a special reason. One of the things that you want to have happen in an evaluation is that you want points to be remembered. That red carpet should be in all your minds, and you should remember that all this business about performing, evaluating, it will get lost if the person involved doesn't feel welcome at the event, if they don't feel that this is a welcoming event. That's the lesson of that red carpet. I don't agree with Mary that it's always wrong to say things that other people have said, because part of it is to make things stick. And sometimes repetition makes things stick. Repetition by two different people, better yet. So I'll disagree with you on that point. And the mushy part always needs to be said at Toastmasters, especially needs to be said to people like me. The urge to be nice to everybody is always the easy way out, but sometimes people need to be said that something they did didn't quite hit the mark. So that's what they need. You're there, give it to them. Do the job. That's part of the evaluator's challenge. Time will stop me. I could go on forever. But I'll give you the niche.
Thanks, Tim, and fellow Toastmasters. And I have the privilege of evaluating Ravi's speech. And it was a tough job, because one thing which I really like whenever I listen to Ravi is he gets into the mood completely. So with that glazed look, the very first time when he talked about show that you care, the glazed look, I was actually, it was not even magnetic, I was actually there in that glazed look. And the way you do the animations, when you move from, when you want your point to be coming across. And here's what I was feeling. Like if I were to probably describe it in a very simple way, by the time you started speaking, I was feeling that I'm just a novice. By the time you finished with your speech, I was feeling like, oh man, this is really possible. I can be an expert. So that motivational factor, the way it progressed through when you described about those 10 points. And I'm going to just talk about 2 of them. Even I can go ahead and talk about 10, but because of time, I'm just going to be focused on 2. Now, you spoke about suit your evaluation to the speaker, and which is so much effective. Chess, he is going to be competing at an international level. So at this point of time, he is expecting that we give him some particular tips, because at that point of time, the space is totally different. So the way you described that was very effective, because when you are in a small club, and even no matter if it is small or big, but those basics we learn from there, you were able to get that point across to me. And I could actually see myself like 7-8 years back where I was versus where I am, and then as the dimensions change, how it kind of really trickles down. And listening actively. You want to listen actively to each and every point you make, but we keep on missing that. So the way you incorporate humor, that is a very tough thing to do in a speech, to incorporate humor, but getting your message across. So listening actively, I can probably use the best of words, but at the same time, if I am not understanding, that I have to cross some particular boundaries and get myself into this person so that by the time he leaves, he takes them. That was pretty good. What distracted me was this podium. I missed some of your the gestures which you were making with your hands. I missed them, and I knew that there was some meaning behind those gestures. So probably maybe because of the limitation of this room, this is something which we can all work on. How do we make sure that we can actually move things across from one place to another? Other than that, wonderful, thank you. 10 behaviors of an effective evaluator. I'm going to take them, I'm going to inherit them. Thank you.
Let's take just a moment or two for some number of questions. I'll yield to the timer if he gives me a thumbs down during this.
They're about a minute and a half.
Thank you. Larissa.
Usually, all the evaluators and speakers in our club sit down, and I don't know why we broke protocol, but the evaluators stood up. Especially the first evaluator was very tall. I couldn't see any expressions on his face, nor on Caroline's face. So that was very distracting for me, because usually their backs were to me. You were a little bit back further so I could see you, but the speakers probably should sit down, especially when they're being taped, because I found that a little distracting, because I couldn't see the expression.
I'll take the knock for that one. I think I thought I saw somebody else do it, but I thought to myself, as I was doing it, this is not a good idea.
No, because I
had a hard time because I wanted to face the speaker who was sitting right next to me and face the audience, so I kind of had to have my back to somebody because we're in kind of a 360 deal here.
The lesson here is when you screw up, we'll tell you about it. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, as the general evaluator, I would like to encourage the audience to give the evaluation to the panel members, and then we'll take care of the general evaluation, if that's, okay. I know they would like to hear that, and then we're sure not done. Okay.
If there are no more other pressing
Time's up.
engagements,
Okay.
we'll call that time out.
Rule had it.
One more.
So here's my full membership form, and the reason is Mary's speech.
There you go.
I'm glad we had time to get that in.